All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're heading back to ancient Mesopotamia, specifically the Eridu region
Okay.
in southern Mesopotamia. I think we've talked about this region before.
Right. Yeah.
But you found some amazing new research about an ancient irrigation system.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to really get into what these ancient canals can tell us about the very beginnings of agriculture and how sophisticated these early societies really were.
Yeah. You know what's so fascinating about this region is just how well preserved everything is.
Yeah.
And that's actually because of the Euphrates River. It shifted course sometime around the beginning of the first millennium BC, which basically created like a time capsule, in this area. So we're not just talking about like little pieces here and there. We're talking about a pretty much intact ancient landscape that we can study.
That's amazing. So it sounds like this research team led by geoarchaeologist Jafar Jathuri really hit the jackpot here.
Yeah.
Their findings were just published in Antiquity, and they described this extensive and really complex irrigation system that predates the first millennium BC. And it was in use for quite a long time, from what I read, from the 6th century BC through the early first millennium.
Right. So what exactly did they find?
I think the biggest takeaway here is the sheer scale of it all and how interconnected it was. They use, all the latest technology, satellite imagery, LiDAR, which allows them to see beneath the surface. They combine that with traditional, on-the-ground field work. And what they mapped was over 200 primary canals, all directly connected to the ancient Euphrates River.
200. That's incredible.
A lot of canals.
It's hard to even imagine that. And I'm guessing it goes even beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
200 primary canals. What else is there?
They also found over 4,000 smaller canals that all branch off from those primary canals.
And those smaller canals all fed into individual farms. They actually mapped over 700 farms. They were fed by this system.
That is wild. Over 700 farms. I mean, that level of organization to build and maintain something that big,
right?
That had to take some serious social coordination.
Absolutely.
So how did they do it? How did they manage all that water without, any of the technology that we have today?
It's really pretty impressive. They were really in tune with the natural landscape. They took advantage of the natural levees of the Euphrates River, which are higher up, so they could use gravity to get the water to the fields.
Oh, so it was like a gravity-fed system.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really clever. I didn't think about that.
They also used breaks in those levees. They're called crevasse splays, and that helped to distribute the water across the floodplain.
Oh, wow. So they were really working with the environment instead of against it. The research also mentions that there was farming on both sides of the river, but it seems like it was more concentrated on the northern side. Is there any idea why that might be?
Well, there are a couple of possibilities. It could be that the soil on the northern side was more fertile, or it could be that the natural slope of the land on that side made it easier to irrigate. But those are questions that, will need more research to answer definitively.
Right. That makes sense. It sounds like this discovery is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah.
The team's planning to go back and date the individual canals to see how the system evolved over time.
Right.
I mean, that'll give us a much better picture of how their agricultural practices changed over the centuries.
Exactly.
What I find really exciting is that they might be able to compare the actual layout of these canals to descriptions in ancient cuneiform texts.
Oh, wow.
I mean, can you imagine being able to match up the archaeological evidence with written accounts of their water management practices? That would give us such a complete understanding of their knowledge.
A holistic view.
Yeah. It's amazing how this is all coming together, with modern technology and traditional archaeology.
Yeah.
This international team from the UK and Iraq, they're really pushing the boundaries of what we know about the ancient world.
They are. And it's important to mention that this research was funded by the British Institute for the Study of Iraq. So, a big shout out to them for supporting this kind of work.
Yes, absolutely. For those who want to dive deeper, the full details are in the February 18th, 2025 issue of Antiquity. You can find it using the DOI 10.15184 alkey.2025.1.
These early Mesopotamian communities weren't just, passively adapting to their environment. They were actively shaping it, and on a pretty large scale. this irrigation system shows a level of ingenuity and planning that's really remarkable.
Yeah, it's easy to think of ancient societies as primitive, but this just blows that idea out of the water.
Right.
These people were masters of their environment. They engineered this incredible system to manage this vital resource.
And that's something that we can learn from today.
Yeah.
We're facing similar challenges with water scarcity and the need for sustainable agriculture. So looking back at how these ancient communities managed water on a large scale over a long period of time, I mean, that could offer some valuable insights for how we approach these challenges today.
It's food for thought, isn't it?
It is. What can we learn from them? And how can we apply that knowledge to our own situation? I think that's something worth considering.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me, host speaker.